Welcome back to Let's Play Pokémon FireRed. Today it's time for another gym battle massacre. Something I do hate about this gym, and it's the same as with Lieutenant Surge's gym, is that you need the HM for cut to even get in there. So you pretty much need to have an HM slave in your party for the gym battle, because you also can't cut down the tree, then go back to the Pokémon Center and switch out the right Pokémon, because as soon as you enter any sort of building, the tree just respawns again. Luckily, I think that this gym and the previous gyms are the only ones to actually do so in this game. I know that Generation 2 has a gym battle where you pretty much need the HM inside the gym itself, but I think it's completely gone after that. They're still in most of the other games where you need them for progress, but I don't think you ever need them to get inside the gym or inside the gym itself. Also, here in the gym itself, we need to use the HM for cut at least once. There are 3 places where we can use cut, but we only have to chop down 1 tree to get to the gym leader. Also, I like how the move cut is used for cutting down small trees, but it's still a normal type move, so it's not effective against grass types. Speaking of which, we are in the grass type gym. So fire and flying are the recommended moves here. Luckily, you can catch a fire type right next to the city, just like right near the electric gym you could catch a ground type, and right near the water gym you could catch a grass type. So I think that's good. The game is helping you a bit without forcing it on you. Also, this is Weeping Bell, the evolution of Bellsprout. But back on topic, like I said, you can catch either a Vulpix or a Growlithe nearby. Flying types are never hard to find. Now, those aren't the only weaknesses that grass types have, but first of all, ice types. I think you can get maybe 1 or 2 ice types attack at this point in the game, but you can't actually catch any ice type Pokemon. But again, in all versions you can get Ice Beam here in Cerulean City. You could also use bug type moves, but especially in this generation there are very few useful bug type moves. Same goes for poison type actually, there aren't that many useful poison type moves. There are a bit more than there are useful bug type moves. But on top of that, most grass type Pokemon are also part poison, which is resistant to both poison attacks and bug type attacks. But I guess that in a way this is also partially a poison type gym, not entirely, but a lot of the Pokemon here still are poison types. So if you have any, you can use some psychic type attacks in this gym. Not ground type attacks, because while the poison is weak to ground, the grass is resistant to ground. I think that about wraps up all the typing matchup we have in this gym, with one exception, and that's the Pokemon we're about to face right now. It's a Pokemon I've actually mentioned earlier in this playthrough, but we haven't actually seen before. It's Execute, which is a grass psychic type. Psychic is weak against bug type, so I guess this is like the only Pokemon in this gym where you can actually use a bug type move against, because it's 4 times weak to bug. By the way, I don't think I ever explained the type matchup of the bug type in its fullest, so allow me to do that right now. Bug type attacks are good against Dark, Grass and Psychic. Bug type attacks are not very good against Fight, Fire, Flying, Ghost, Poison and Steel. Oh, and in Generation 6 they're also not useful against Fairy types. As for the bug Pokemon themselves, they are resistant to fighting, grass and ground. They are weak to fire, flying and rock. But it seems like it's already time to face the gym leader, this kimono girl is Erika. The fighting future number 1, she is a pothead. At least when you talk to her, she seems pretty absent-minded. I think she has a few too many oddish in her party, if you know what I mean. Second, the fighting future, she is a sexist. Or at least in the anime, she wouldn't let anyone who is not female fight her, which kind of ruins the point of being a gym leader. Also, if you look around this gym, everyone is female. Also, I think almost every single Pokemon they use is female, except for the 1 or 2 or 3 Ivysaur and Bulbasaur that are in this gym. But yeah, that's about it. She uses a Victory Bell. Victory Bell is the final evolution of Bellsprout, and it evolves from a Weeping Bell into a Victory Bell by using a Leaf Stone. Victory Bell actually looks pretty intimidating as far as grass types go. I kinda like it. Maybe I'll use it whenever I decide to play Leaf Green for whatever reason, even though I probably won't. Also, you would think I would switch out Ignis or at least heal him, but no, I'm stubborn and barely ever heal my Pokemon, even though I often need to. And now he was killed by poisoning and I kinda needed him, so oops! Luckily, Victory Bell is still part poison, I have Magnitude, and Dugtrio is not gonna get hit in the process because I know for a fact that he's pretty fast. And I rest my case. Though sadly enough, Dugtrio is still a ground type, so still at a disadvantage. I could technically still use him as a meat shield to heal Ignis, but no, again, I'm too stubborn to heal. Which in this gym is kind of extra dumb, because for one I need fire, but also Growlithe still needs a few levels up, and I could have done it here real easily, but no. Instead I'm focusing on Pokemon that may or may not need the experience, because they may or may not be in my party for very long. Oh god, Giga Drain. It's like Absorb, just better. Especially when it critical hits like that. And in an instant I'm 3 Pokemon shorter. Get it? Because that trio is like just 3 Diglets. Amazing Pokemon design, by the way. I hate it when people complain about the recent Pokemon designs. Yeah, because they used to be so much better. Oh, by the way, we're fighting a Vileplume, the final evolution of Oddish and Gloom. Not counting the Generation 2 alternative evolution it can have. And like I've stated before, it evolves only when you give it a Leaf Stone. In Generation 2 there's also this Elite 4 member who is supposed to specialize in Dark-type Pokemon, but she does use a Vileplume, which I'm down with because this thing does look kinda shady. I mean, not only does it have small red eyes, but those things are also always shrouded in shadows because of the big-ass flower hat. So yeah, I'm fine with a Dark-type trainer using this thing. Especially in the original Generation 1 and 2, where its body was just completely black instead of the sort of bluish color they use here. Granted, even in original artwork it was supposed to be sort of this blue color you see here, but in the actual games they had sprite and color limitations. I have no idea what I'm doing at this point. I'm using a Thunder type against the Grass type, which is not a good idea, but I thought I want to paralyze it, but after that I didn't feel like switching out the Pokemon because then I would lose a turn. So instead I do what I always do, just let the Pokemon faint and try to see if I can get a few attacks in before that happens. Looking back, I'm really not doing a very good job with any of these gym battles. I could go back and redo them because I think I could do a better job, but I didn't really care a whole lot because for starters I have more Pokemon and, well, actually that's pretty much it. I have more Pokemon so I can afford to do a lot of dumb shit, but looking back I do still do a lot of dumb shit. At the time I was thinking, as long as I just win. Looking back, I should have been thinking that I shouldn't waste as much time because it's harder to commentate over. And let me tell you, boy, am I not looking forward to Silphco, the much dreaded part 13. But I guess we'll get to that one when it happens. Anyway, back to the gym. Vileplume has been taken care of and she's already down to her last Pokemon, which in my opinion is kind of the easiest of her 3 Pokemon. She's about to send out Tangela. Tangela is the only Generation 1 Pokemon that is a pure Grass type, a Grass type and nothing else. In Generation 4 it also gets an evolution by the name of Tangrowth, which is kind of a weird evolution since it only evolves when it has a certain move, but it learns that move at level 38, so why not just make it that Tangela evolves into Tangrowth when it reaches level 38? And actually I do know exactly why they did that. They did that because otherwise you can ask, well, I have a level 38 Tangela in Generation 1, why can't it evolve there? Because that other evolution didn't exist yet. But if you ask me, they should just stop doing that. Stop coming up with weird excuses for why a Pokemon could evolve then, but not now. Because they keep adding more dumb and dumber evolution reasons or ways of evolving the Pokemon. I think the worst example of this is in Generation 1 there's always been a Leaf Stone to evolve certain Grass types. But in Generation 4 they added a Grass type evolution of Eevee. So it would make most sense to have Eevee evolve into that Pokemon, which is called Leafeon by the way, by just giving it a Leaf Stone. But no. Because for whatever fucking reason they are incredibly stubborn about just adding a Pokemon or an evolution through just normal ways, through just leveling up the Pokemon. And again, it's just incredibly dumb and stubborn. Because they pretend to care about continuity when they don't, because they don't care about adding a move to a Pokemon that it couldn't learn before, so why do they care about evolving a Pokemon that couldn't evolve before? It's the same thing! It's unnecessary and I just want to go back in time and slap the designers in the face. In fact, I don't even have to go back in time, I can do it now. They can still change it now, but no, that would be blasphemy even though they don't care about changing anything else. Oh, and in the meantime I beat at the gym, I didn't really notice. Anything else worth pointing out in that last battle, Tangela was using the move Ingrain, making it so that Tangela gets healed a little every turn, but it can't be switched out from battles, so it can't run from many battles. Erika wouldn't be able to switch out the Pokemon, or if I used Roar, it wouldn't have any effect. In this case it didn't really matter because it was her last Pokemon anyway. But after that we got the Rainbow Badge and we got the TM for Giga Drain. Also, since we went to Celadon and got ourselves some tea for this guard over here, we can finally move into Saffron City. Also, this guard says that he will share it with the other guards, so now we can use all the Saffron City entrances or exits. Meaning we can now travel north to get to Cerulean City, south to get to Vermilion City, and east to get to Lavender Town. Whereas before you would have to go to Rock Tunnel in order to get from Cerulean to Lavender Town. Point is, getting from place to place is a lot easier now. However, it seems that Saffron City is filled up the ass with Team Rocket members. We don't know exactly why as of yet, but one of the Team Rocket members is guarding the entrance to the Silphco building. Then if you look up here, another Team Rocket member is guarding the entrance to the Saffron City Gym. So the only place of interest that's left is the Fighting Dojo. The Fighting Dojo is sort of a gym, except you don't get a badge for doing it, or you don't get a TM, and you don't actually have to do it to beat the game, but I'm gonna call it a gym anyway. They specialize in the fighting type Pokemon, and it's pretty much the only thing we can do in Saffron City right now. Can't really go to the gym until we clear Silphco, we can't really clear Silphco until we do the Pokemon Tower. And we can't really clear the Pokemon Tower until we clear the Rocket Warehouse, but luckily we already did that. Though it's not the Rocket Warehouse, it's the Rocket Hideout. The Rocket Warehouse is a different place. But another thing I wanted to bring up is that the Saffron City Gym is technically gym number 6, but actually that doesn't mean a whole lot because you can fight gym number 6 before you do both gym number 5 and 4. You can even fight gym number 7 before you get to gym number 6, or you can fight gym number 7 and 6 before you even get to gym 4. I think the only stipulation is that you have to do gym number 5 before you can get to gym number 7, but I think that's the only one. Other than that, you can do gym number 4, 5 and 6 and 7 in pretty much any order you want. Now, for the sake of this playthrough, I'm just gonna be going them on the quote-unquote official order, but what I love about Kanto is that you have that option to do the gyms in almost any order you want, except for gym number 1, 2 and 3 and gym number 8. And Kanto actually has a bit of replay value because of it, because you can replay the game with a different Pokemon theme, but also in a different gym order. And I think that Kanto is probably my favorite Pokemon region because of it, because I don't think that any other game actually allows you to do so. The only example I can think of is in Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire and Emerald, that you can skip gym number 2 if you want to, but that's it, and then you still have to do it before you get to gym number 5, I think. So Kanto is really the only non-linear Pokemon region, and I just wish they would do it again sometimes, because it adds replay value. It's good. Wish they would do it again, gets a seal of approval, and that's all I have to say about it. Anyway, we're in the Fighting Dojo, fighting Pokemon who fight us. Speaking of fighting type Pokemon, allow me to explain the fighting type Pokemon type matchup. They are weak to flying types and psychic types, while they are resistant to bug type attacks, dark type attacks and rock type attacks. Things that are weak to fighting type moves are dark types, ice types, normal types, rock types and steel types. Things that are resistant to fighting type moves are bugs, flying, poison and psychic. And then there's also the ghost type, which is completely immune to fighting types. Oh, and in Generation 6, fighting types are weak to fairy type moves, and fairy types are resistant to fighting type moves. Cutting it way too close here with 2 HP. The move I got hit by was Seismic Toss. A move where the damage done is actually decided by the level of the target. For example, my mascot is level 27, so I will lose 27 HP. This also means that even though it is a fighting type move, it is not affected by any sort of typing. It doesn't matter if I'm resistant to it or weak to it, it's not really gonna change anything. However, ghost types are still immune to it, except in Generation 1. So that's another Generation 1 glitch where there's actually a fighting type move that ghost types can get hit by, but they fixed it in Generation 2 and onwards. Now we are currently fighting a Primeape. Primeape is the evolution of Mankey, something that Monk Woman will never get to experience because she's out of our party and we're not gonna use her ever again. No, actually I do evolve her near the end of this playthrough because you're gonna have to have seen a certain amount of Pokemon, and evolving a Pokemon adds to the Pokédex, so I do evolve her later on, but you're not gonna see it on screen. Oh, and Mankey evolves into a Primeape at level 28. By the way, Pokemon do have different leveling rates, so for example a Mankey levels up much faster than a Squirtle does, And did I mention that trainer battles actually give you a lot more experience than wild battles do? Though I'm not entirely sure if the gym leader battles give you even more experience than the normal trainers do. The point is that if you wanna level up a Pokemon fast, you're better off using trainer battles as opposed to wild battles. The thing is that there's only a limited amount of trainer battles. You can't really refight trainers. As opposed to random wild battles where there's an infinite amount of them. And since I don't have a lot to talk about at the moment, I want to bring up something else. I like how Pokemon does give a good feel of that you're going on an adventure in the terms of what Pokemon you meet. Like the first few Pokemon you run into are based on animals you would find a lot closer to home. If I walk out the door right now, I'm gonna step on bugs and maybe find a rat or a bird. And only as you get further and further away from home, you start running into more fire dogs and foxes and later even goats and then dragons. So that's something that Pokemon does that I like. So it makes me want to not live in Hoenn because 5 steps away from your house and you're being attacked by wolves. Also notice how I do not pay any attention to the fact that I got scared and ran back to the Pokemon Center to heal up my Pokemon, so I can now finish up the fighting dojo, even though I already took care of most of the trainers. Just the quote-unquote gym leader question mark of the fighting dojo. Also, let's take a look at these Pokemon in my party right now. One of them might be leaving soon. Could it be Cannabis or Mascot? It can't be Aqua, can it? I guess we'll find out in like 5 minutes. Also, look at those shiny 2 Pokeballs back there. I want them. But first this guy. He only has 2 Pokemon, but they're 2 Pokemon we haven't seen before and I have stuff to say things about. First, Hitmonlee. He is a fighting type, he likes to kick people, and he's based off of Bruce Lee. Also uses Mind Reader right here, so that makes it that the next attack he's gonna use won't miss me. Even if I use Dig, he will somehow hit me through the ground. But then he uses Focus Energy, so that Mind Reader was entirely pointless. Though you can also make Mind Reader pointless by switching out Pokemon. If I switch out Pokemon, then Mind Reader will have no effect, so the attack can still miss. Now he's using Foresight, which makes it that Ghost types are not immune to normal type moves and fighting type moves anymore, which is also pointless because I'm not using any sort of Ghost type. Though I'm guessing he has it because this Hitmonlee only has one attacking move and that is a fighting type one, so if he didn't have Foresight and I was using a Ghost type against him, he wouldn't be able to attack me whatsoever. And the reason it has Mind Reader is because of this attack right here. High Jump Kick is a very powerful fighting type move. However, its accuracy is not perfect, and if it misses, the Pokemon will actually take damage. I think the idea is that it misses the Pokemon and then falls on the ground. So that's why it's important it has Mind Reader, so it won't miss and he won't take any damage from missing. Also in Generation 1 it really didn't matter if High Jump Kick missed, because you would only get hit for 1 HP, which is literally next to nothing. In Generation 2, 3 and 4 it's that High Jump Kick damage you if it misses for half the damage it would have done. And then in Generation 5 and 6 makes it that if you miss it will take half of your maximum health. Which is certainly a very big difference from what I did in Generation 1. And speaking of which, that's actually just how we won the battle. High Jump Kick missed and it died. Didn't even do anything. Anyway, next Pokemon, this is Hitmonchan. He's based off of Jackie Chan and he likes to punch people. In Generation 1, Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee weren't actually part of the same evolutionary line. They were supposed to be each other's counterparts, but have no other actual connection. However, in Generation 2 they gave them a baby evolution, one that can evolve in both Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, so now they are part of the same evolutionary line. The Pokemon would evolve into Hitmonlee if the attack stat is higher than the defense stat, and in Hitmonchan if the defense stat is higher than the attack stat. And then there's also a third one, which is pretty annoying to get because the attack stat and the defense stat need to be exactly the same. But I mostly just felt like pointing out how these 2 Pokemon in Generation 1 were not part of the same species, but Generation 2 made it that now they are part of the same species. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the only Pokemon they ever did that with. Let me look that up real fast, and yes, according to Bulbapedia's trivia, it is the only Pokemon they ever did that with. Oh, Bulbapedia. I could not have done this playthrough without you. Also, this Hitmonchan seems to have a variety of attacks. I want one. It has Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch. It's stuff like that that makes me happy that Generation 4 makes it so that the physical attacks and these special attacks are now their own categories and not all fire type attacks are special attacks. Because Fire Punch being a non-physical attack makes like no sense. And there are a lot of people who really didn't like that they added that because they really preferred all fire types being special and all rock types being physical, for example. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you by a lot. I really prefer the physical and special categories. Poliwrath, for example, is a water type Pokemon, but his physical attack is much higher than his special attack, so you can't really get use out of water type moves because those are always gonna use the special attack stat. But that's just how I view it. I'm still playing a Generation 3 game right now, but I'm glad that in the current Pokemon generations that split exists. Anyway, now we defeated the Fighting Dojo, now we get to choose either Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee. I'm sure a lot of you are gonna think that I'm gonna make the wrong choice, but I prefer Hitmonchan because, like I said before, he learns both Fire Punch, Ice Punch and Thunder Punch. I'm not gonna use him for very long, but I like that little bit of type variety in my Pokemon for just a little while. I'm sure a lot of people are still gonna say, no, you should pick Hitmonlee, he's much better than Hitmonchan, and the same goes for the choosing between the Helix fossil and the Dome fossil. Here's the thing, I don't really care, but I'm out of time, so join me next part in part 12 of Let's Play Pokémon FireRed, where we go to the Pokémon Tower. See you then.